I'm Joey Barrett, and this is a deer hunter reviewing hunting scenes from the movie Run, Hide, Fight. Now, overall, I thought this was a great movie. I really enjoyed it for the most part. I thought that it was maybe a little risky or even ambitious in the subject material that it was handling, but after watching the movie, bravo, I thought they handled that very, very well. So I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to break down the hunting scenes, and really at the beginning of the movie, that's where they primarily are. So father-daughter get out of the truck and daughter looks through her scope, and I thought that was fine. I thought that was good, actually. You know, you want to make sure that your equipment is all functioning before you go and, you know, you try to harvest or shoot an animal or anything like that. So I thought that was handled well. My issue was when they get to the woods, it's already somewhat light outside. It is obvious that they're doing a morning hunt. It is just getting light outside. And as a hunter, you want to already be at your spot, whether it's a tree stand, a ground blind, or if you're just setting up on the ground. Wherever you are, if you're doing a morning hunt, you want to be there before it gets light outside. And that's not the case here. It's already light and they're walking to wherever they're going. And so any deer that's in the area, since it's already light, are going to be able to see them and run away. Another reason why you want to set up if you're going to do a morning hunt, you know, let's say you do bump a deer on the way to wherever you're hunting. You want to give that area time to settle back down so that another deer or whatever you're hunting can walk through. And so they should have already been to their spot where they were hunting. The next thing that really stood out to me immediately was the fact that neither one of them were wearing orange. In most states in the United States, it is required to wear hunter orange during a firearm season, whether you're on public ground or on private land. And I did a freeze frame later in the movie when there's a shot of the sheriff, and I paused it there. He's got an emblem on his shoulder, and I looked at it and it said Nebraska. So they were hunting in Nebraska. In Nebraska, you have to wear hunter orange. So they're breaking the law by not wearing orange during a rifle season. So, you know, that's law number one that they're breaking. And that's going to come into play, I think, very quickly, because you're going to see how focused on ethics the dad is, and yet he's doing something unethical by taking his daughter out hunting when it is illegal to do so. When they're on the ground, both of them, father-daughter, are looking through their scopes at the deer. I thought that was a great scene. I thought it looked good. You know, whether it's a father-daughter, father-son, or even a mentor mentoring a younger hunter or a first-time hunter, there is that communication, that level of communication and help from the more experienced to the less experienced person. I thought that was great. You know, giving instructions, helping out. I thought that was an awesome scene, and it is something that you definitely see in real life hunting. I don't have a problem necessarily with the way they were holding their weapons. I didn't see anything off the top of my head that stood out to me that was wrong. Now, when you have the shot, the deer is quartering to kind of hard. The deer wasn't just broadside, and so this is broadside. And I'm trying to think how this would be with the camera that I'm looking at. This would be quartering to, where the deer's front body is more toward your head on, and a quartering away shot is when that head is faced away from you. So she's taking a rather hard quartering to shot. Looks like she's aiming right at the edge of that shoulder, and then that bullet goes in and goes back into the animal and out. So that's what happened. Now with archery equipment, which is what I primarily use, that's not really a shot you want to take. You don't want to really go a quartering to shot with archery hunting. You want a broadside shot, or you want a quartering away shot. With a rifle, you can get by with a little bit more. And so overall, I guess I don't have anything really too bad to say about that. It was with a firearm, so you have a license to kind of get away with more. Ideally, you want a broadside shot or a quartering away shot with the shot aimed back a little bit more, because as that deer is quartering away, that bullet is going to, you know, move its way through the body like this. So anyway, that's just kind of a little lesson on, I guess, where you aim for hunting. So she shoots the deer, she drops the deer. And the next thing we see is immediately they're walking up on the deer. That is not something that that I would really advise that you do. You want to give the deer time to expire. Now, when they're coming up on the deer, you can see the father, the Thomas Jane character, he's got his rifle up, which is that is a smart move. That is a very smart move. And so the deer is actually still alive. Now, it's not really accurate on what you would see in real life. If you've got a bullet or an arrow completely passing through an animal, there's going to be a whole lot of blood there. And there really wasn't. I understand why there wasn't for showing it on movie that thousands and millions of people are going to see. It's not going to be that realistic. There would have been a lot of blood there. At that point, if that were to happen and I walked up on a deer that was still alive, I'm not going to look around conveniently and find a giant rock to smash its face in. I'm going to put another round in it immediately. And this is where you get into that ethical discussion that the father says, you have work to do, you can't let it suffer. And I'm all about not letting animals suffer. But let's back up for a moment. They shoot the animal and then immediately they walk up to it. That is typically not going to happen in real life. The implication in this movie is this is the first time. This is the first time the daughter is going out and trying to shoot a deer with her father. There's going to be some sort of communication generally that you're going to have from parent, to child. Hey, congratulations on shooting that animal. Hey, great job. And yet none of that happens. Like, your first deer, you're going to feel something. Now they're setting up that she's emotionally drained and detached from, something else that happens in the movie that I'm not going to explain here. And I get that. Even still, you're going to feel something taking the life of an animal or something. You're going to feel something emotionally, and that is just that is completely skipped over. Generally you're going to celebrate the fact that you just shot a giant buck, you shot your first deer. There's going to be some sort of dialogue that takes place, and yet none of that takes place. They immediately walk up on the animal, and it's gasping for air, which I thought it sounded more like a sheep than a deer. But anyway, you just don't see that. The conversation that they would have had in discussing what just happened. Hey, I can't believe you shot that. Wow, that was a good shot. Da 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 da. In the time period of having some sort of dialogue with your child, some sort of celebration with your child, and then walk up on the animal, it would have been dead. Especially if you got both lungs. It's not going anywhere. It's going to die in a couple of minutes. But that is shown as something that is almost perceived to be unethical from the father's standpoint. You can't let that happen. Well, let me tell you something. That is a ethical and a quick, clean kill. That deer is going to expire in a matter of minutes. There is nothing wrong with giving that animal time to expire. As a matter of fact, with a lot of animals, you want to give them time to expire, because if you don't, what they'll do once you shoot an animal is it'll go a little ways and then it'll bed down. And in bedding down, you're letting that process take its place where it's going to die. But if you rush tracking the animal, you have a high likelihood of that animal still having life in it, and then it jumping up and running away, and then you potentially never recovering it. So again, that's just something to keep in mind when you're going after an animal. So I wasn't a real big fan of that. I didn't like how that was handled, or how it was perceived almost to be unethical to give a deer a few moments to expire. You have to compare that to what happens in nature. In nature, if a predator other than a human goes after a deer and gets one, whether it's a bear, a mountain lion, a coyote, a wolf pack, or whatever, they are going to eat that animal alive. They are going to be ripping its flesh off while it's still breathing until it no longer breathes anymore. That, I know, is a horrific sight to think about. That is what happens in nature. Or if it were to get some sort of disease and die, it could die some terrible death. There are diseases, EHD and CWD that have some real negative, they affect deer negatively, and they really don't have very good quality of life. It's terrible to watch them go through it. It's almost like they become zombies, and then they die. They starve and all. Shooting an animal, whether you shoot it in the lungs, in the heart, or even maybe even catch part of the liver or whatever, you've made a good shot, okay? And that deer is going to die. You just need to give it time. And it is not unethical to give a deer time to expire. So that is one message I really want to get across, especially if somebody is a new hunter and they watch this movie and they think, I shoot and then I immediately go track the animal. No, you don't. You do not do that. And if you do that and you come up on the animal and it is still alive, you got to think that that deer has knives on top of its head. And if it gets up, those knives are going to go through your body and you could die. Put another round in it. So that's my message about that. Okay, so let's go through and watch part of this trailer, and I'm going to talk about something else that really stood out to me.
They're good. The size of that deer, we're going to be eating venison all summer.
On a day's work.
Okay, so he just said, this is gonna feed us all summer. Well, let's hold up a second. Gonna feed them all summer. And then as you watch this movie, you quickly see the setting of this movie is either in May or June during the end of a school year, whenever the end of your school year is. It's either May or June. Prom is happening. It's senior prank day. There is no hunting season in Nebraska in May or June for deer. So setting up the father as this ethical character, like the teacher of ethics, he is hunting illegally with not wearing blaze orange, and he's hunting illegally because it's not even deer season. You can't even hunt deer at this time of year. So he's broken 2 laws, in this hunt, and he's trying to teach his daughter ethics. It's the ethics of hunting is just kind of laughable. That is not the way to go. Do not hunt illegally. Wear orange if you're hunting during a firearm season. So it's not even hunting season. Now the next thing to go right along with this, and this happens a little bit later in the movie as it progresses, you see the father out in his driveway / canopy, whatever that is, and he's gutting the deer. Well, okay. For somebody who's a stickler on teaching his daughter the right way to do it, really the right way to do that, you would want to gut that deer, as soon as you can, as quickly as you can. Why not have her do it? If he's having her put on the finishing blow, the finishing shot or rock smash, why aren't you going to have your daughter gut the deer? Why are you going to do it for her? Now, I don't have a problem if somebody guts your deer for you. That's not the point. But the implication is he's so focused on teaching her the right way to do it, and that he's not making her gut her own deer. I don't know about that. And the second thing is, especially from personal experience, you shoot a deer, a white-tailed deer, they are very heavy. They weigh a lot. You want to gut that deer because that's a lot of weight that you no longer have to carry. You're looking at a white-tailed deer, you're looking, in Nebraska, I hunt in Kansas and Ohio, you're looking 175 pounds, 200 pounds, maybe even more than 200 pounds. That is a lot of weight. You want to get rid of as much as you can. You want to get those guts out. And more importantly, you want to get the guts out as quick as you can. Because when the temperatures warm up, those guts will spoil the meat of the deer. Now, it would have been more realistic if you have the father character, in his garage or canopy or whatever, he's got the deer hung up, and he's skinning the deer, and he's cutting the meat off of the deer and grinding it up, or packaging it up. Now, that would have been more realistic, but no, he's down there gutting the deer. And so, that the hunting scenes in this movie, at least part of them, really kind of took me out of it from the beginning. Now, I got back into the movie and I enjoyed it, but these are just some things that I've noticed from a hunting standpoint. So Did you watch the movie? Was there anything that you saw that stood out that I might have missed? So please let me know in the comment section. Please consider liking and subscribing to this channel for future content. And thank you again for watching the video. A white-tailed deer in May or June are not going to have a full set of hard-horned antlers. They're going to be in the early stages of beginning to grow their antlers back. So deer drop their antlers usually somewhere anywhere from December to March, April. The deer will begin dropping their antlers, and then they regrow the antlers, and then when they regrow them, they're in something where that's called velvet, and so the antlers are still forming and they're still growing. And then usually toward the end of August, those antlers they'll rub the velvet off, and the antlers will be that white hard horned stage where they're not going to break off, they're not going to keep growing. And so this movie being set in May or June, the deer is going to have very small antlers that are just beginning to grow, and they're going to look fuzzy, not hard horned like they were in this movie. So those are just a few accuracy things, some of the issues I had with the hunting scenes in this movie. But like I said, I know it's a movie, I know it's not entirely accurate, but I just wanted to share some of my observations with you. And thank you again for watching the video.